Philly, where the birds take flight. Eagle swag on the rise each and every night. Tone and Marcus got the scoop ready to ignite. From the lanes of South Street to the Broad Street lights. Dashing like a running back, hitting every play. Fly guys in the zone, never led astray. Talking touchdowns, talking game day. Huddle around the mic, hear what they gotta say. Fly like an eagle soaring in the sky. Tone and Marcus always standing by. Bringing the heat, call it do or die. Philly squad, hear the battle cry. Fly like an eagle soars in the sky. Tone and Marcus always standing by. Bringing the heat, call it do or die. Philly squad, hear the battle cry.
What up, what up? What's going on, Pro Fan Talk? What is going on, Chalk It Up Sports?
Yes, sir.
We are here with the Eagles off-season show, and we are running out of off-season very quickly. What's good, Tone?
I'm good, man. I can't complain. You know, it's been a very interesting week for the Philadelphia Eagles for sure. But speaking for myself, I'm doing well, man. Taking things one day at a time, just staying focused on the grind. You know what I mean? And I'm just excited to be here, man. Excited to talk Eagles. You know how we do, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Appreciate all the love on the graphics. Y'all know that's my thing. I work hard on it. So I appreciate the feedback.
For sure. For sure.
But minding my own business.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get popped in the mouth with Bryce Huff.
But I mean, okay, let's just hop right into it. We
knew it was coming.
Expected this a bit.
Yeah.
And I think you and I talked about this briefly, and I even talked about it some more with Simone Stanley and Laura Brunson on the link up. You know, we tapped into it, and you know, the guy wasn't showing up for any off-season workouts with the team.
Yeah.
And one side of the argument was, yo, this dude is trying to force his way out. The other side of the argument is, oh, he's already out. How are we just trying to figure it out? He probably told him, hey, stay home. We're going to get you moved as soon as possible.
Right.
You know, to try to prevent any sort of injury, to prevent any sort of complications with the deal. But look, man, this is something that part of me felt like it was coming, but also part of me felt like, hey, you know, come back stronger, wiser, sharper, you know, reinvent yourself. New year, new opportunity to earn that money. You got paid already, you know. And some people just can't. Some people can't function at as their best selves, regardless of the compensation. And I understand that.
Yeah,
I understand that.
I think it was a win-win. I think
ultimately,
how he's going to flip it and do what he does best, and he'll get somebody we're not thinking about, or it'll be part of a deal for a trade. He's gonna come out on top. As far as Bryce Huff, you know, I thought that he was playing pretty good. You know my thoughts on him. I didn't think he was bad as everybody else thought.
We talked about this.
I understand why you would think that. But as far as he goes, now you hooking up with a coach that had you playing at your best, and you in a warm weather climate. You ain't in New York no more. And you with an organization that knows how to win and has got a history and everything that comes with that. So sometimes a new environment is the best medicine. And he got it. He got it.
This is why Harry Roseman is the best.
Yeah.
Because even when he feels like he didn't get the best out of a deal, he still does what's best for the player.
He get that rebate, man.
He still does what's best for the player. I'm not even talking about what he got back. I'm talking about just being a stand-up individual.
Yeah,
listen, things didn't work out. Okay, I could send you to Carolina and probably get way more for you.
Facts.
I could send you to Tennessee and probably get 2 or 3 draft picks. I could probably get something. And look, I'm overreaching, but the point I'm trying to make is Howie Roseman probably could have sent him to Mars and got way more.
Yeah.
But he said, you know what? Things didn't work out. It is what it is. I still respect you. and I'm not going to do you dirty. I'm going to trade you to somebody who got the best out of you. I'm going to do what's best for you. I'm going to send you to a warm climate.
Yeah, facts.
To the other side of the coast. Like
Facts.
Howie Roseman, say what you want about him. You know, some people who's worked with him say he can be intense, and as he should in that kind of environment. You want the best, you gotta exude that, right? And Howie Roseman is just a stand-up guy, man. Like Bryce Huff should be fortunate that the circumstances played out the way they did, to be honest with you. And I gotta ask you, because he posted something on his Instagram.
Yeah, he posted the deuces.
Yeah, he had the Eagles tank top on, the cutoff, and he posted deuces. Now, I normally don't get bothered by certain things like that. It's social media antics or whatever. But part of it just made me feel like, relax, bro.
Let me be honest with you.
Don't act like nobody did you dirty, bro.
It didn't. I didn't take it like that at all. And the reason why I didn't is because he still had on the Eagles garb. It'd have been different if he'd had a 49ers hat, or he'd have been eating some fish like he was at Fisherman's Wharf. Like if he'd have played it like something with burgundy and gold or something like that. He looked like he was in his Eagles gear. Maybe just got finished with a workout. When
I know where that picture's from. That picture's from earlier in the season.
Yeah,
that's not a new photo. I remember because he cropped other people out of that picture because even in that, I remember that picture vividly. Even in that picture, he looked like the odd man out.
Right.
It's no accident he used that picture, if you ask me.
Well, I don't take umbrage to it, because nowadays, let me say it like this. Nowadays, if you want to get it off like that, it's too easy to do that.
Yeah.
So you got a lot of these guys on social media and stuff like that. You got zero reason to be cryptic. You ain't got to be cryptic. Say what it is. And he could have, said some certain things. Come on, we can go back the last 3-4 years since we had this Super Bowl run, when people got stuff to say after they leave or something like that. So he kept it. And I use the prime example. I use Jalen Ramsey when Vic Fangio got up out of there. Everybody got something to say down in Miami. And so I'm saying all that to say, as a player, if that's your personality and that's what you're like, you gonna say something. And I didn't have no problem with it. I thought it was minimal damage at best.
No, yeah, it's not. To your point, it's not the craziest post. I mean, don't get it twisted. I even talked about it the other day. It wasn't the craziest post. It wasn't disrespectful or nothing. But it's just it just for me. And I think it's levels to emotions, right? Like I don't have to be pissed off, but I don't have to be unbothered either. You know what I mean? Like I can kind of flirt in that in between, like that kind of peeved me a little bit, but it ain't the biggest deal. And I think people should be allowed to live in that area, right? It's times where things may I ain't really like that, but
yeah, tell you for what it is, man.
Yeah,
It'd have been different.
It is what it is. It is what it is, right? Because like,
was everybody expecting like a long retirement type piece? You know what I'm saying?
Honestly, I'm one of those people.
Put the post up with the pretty script font saying
not
thank
even
you.
Honestly, bro, I didn't even expect that. To your point, I didn't even expect that. The way he been moving, even though I would expect him not to say a fucking word. Like I would expect him to not even do anything.
Well, that's why I say
of that nature.
Technically, he didn't have to acknowledge it at all. But if he didn't do anything, people would have been mad at that as well. I saw somebody in the chat saying he got a free ring, and let me be honest with you, as a player, I take umbrage with that, because there ain't no such thing as a free ring. Because regardless if he played or not, he still went in every day and put in the work. And as far as I know, and if you've heard different, let me know. He ain't caused no trouble. He wasn't a problem in the locker room. He may not have been able to produce like the way we wanted him to produce, but he took his reps when he got his opportunities on the field. So my point is, he wasn't causing no trouble. And again, we can always go back and look at situations in the past where somebody was disruptive or somebody was a problem in the locker room, and he was not that. And
He didn't
people
strike me as
kind of,
that.
people kind of look for that when you glad to get rid of somebody like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'm like, I take it for what it is. He threw up the deuces or whatever. It was an old picture. It was an old picture.
Yeah.
It is what it is. He could have. I've seen a lot worse.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
You know, so I'm like, good for him. He
yeah. Look, ultimately, I'm happy for him. Ultimately, I want the best for him. You know what I mean?
Like I want to see everybody succeed.
I ultimately want the best for him.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like he was. And look, I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a therapist. I'm not going to claim to be psychic. I'm not going to claim to know what he was feeling when he was feeling it. But I do pay attention to body language. I do pay attention to things like that. And it just seemed like he had a hard time acclimating himself to the team culture, acclimating himself to his new teammates, right? And again, we're not in the building. We're not in the building. There's no way I can know that for a fact. But I see the product every Sunday.
Let me tell you what that is. I can tell you what that is exactly.
Okay.
Regardless of what your relationship is with other people, if you are not performing, right? And then let's just take your point to the next logical step. If you're not familiar with everybody in there, the only person he was familiar with in that locker room was Mekhi Becton.
Fair enough, yeah.
So when you got a bunch of new friends and you going through something, a lot of people don't know how to deal with you. So they leave you alone. They don't know what to say. They don't know what not to say. Yeah. He ain't built them relationships yet.
He already come off like the reserved dude anyway. He's right. Like even in his intro press conference, he gave reserved, like,
yeah.
And I don't want it to come off like I think he's a bad guy or anything.
No. What I'm saying is like think of any situation you've ever been in, and a person is struggling in whatever. How do you address that? If you don't know them, the only thing you can do is really keep it professional. But sometimes that's not what they're looking for. So, and I'm saying all that to say, if he didn't have the greatest relationships because he just hadn't been there long enough, that makes sense. And as far as like the body language comes from, I'm really sucking out here on the field. And I know that. Because we talked about, listen, he probably had some uncomfortable conversations and embarrassing situations in that film room. Because when I studied film, I was like, bruh, it's got to be better than that. But the other side of that is, number one, he didn't come here to lose. He didn't come here to not compete.
Right.
And he didn't come here to suck. So, and 2 years ago, he was one of the best in the league. So now you got to deal with the mental aspect of it. But that's a real thing, dealing with the mentals. However, that's why you get paid that much money. So there's a little bit of both to it. I understand the criticism he gets, and the criticism is valid, and he knows that. But I don't think for a second that anybody in this football league is going out there trotting on that field, just going out there saying like, yeah, I'm going to suck today because I don't give a shit. It don't work that way.
Especially in football. Football's not that sport.
Yeah, football. He was in the weight room. I'm almost positive he had conversations with Clint Hurt and Vic Fangio and Sirianni. He was trying to figure it out.
And Jeremiah Washburn,
Yeah, so I look at it from the standpoint of, and we say this a lot, and I've said this a lot, coaching matters. And at this particular time, maybe Vic Fangio wasn't the right dude for him. We'll see next year when he's back with Saleh. We'll see what his production looks like, because we might have the conversation again. I mentioned Robert Quinn, maybe, because I remember a lot of people were like, he's washed up. Well, let's see what he can do. It's going to play itself out one way or the other. We might be having a conversation midway of the years like, man, I ain't seen hide in her hair of Bryce Huff. So maybe Howie was ahead of the game, because wasn't that what we were saying about Hassan Reddick?
Yeah,
I was like,
so funny.
I wanted to keep Hassan Reddick, and we didn't miss him at all.
We didn't miss Huff either. I mean, you could be honest, like
Facts.
like the way that season went, the Eagles still had the #1 defense, and he was a non-factor for the most part. Yeah, so which is remarkable. It speaks to the depth of that team, and so on and so forth. Bryce Huff.
I get real quick. I I just want people to understand I am going to have a biased opinion when it comes to that, having been in the locker room. So my perspective on that specifically will always be biased because I know guys don't come in the locker room looking to suck,
Right.
looking to perform horribly. We're not trying to do that. Especially after all the work you put in.
You know, I always bring up that play against the Cowboys. It was the first matchup in Jerry World. And I always bring it up as the moment I knew Bryce Huff was cooked in terms of ingratiating himself with the team. You know, I'm a believer that if you're not building rapport off the field, hey, you can definitely build it on the field when you make plays and when you celebrate with your teammates and so on and so forth.
Exactly.
Right? At least I believe that. And then maybe things could translate and trickle down from there, right? There was a play, third quarter, Eagles are up 28-6. It's about a minute 10, a minute 12 left on the clock. And the Cowboys snap the ball. Cooper Rush drops back. Bryce Huff beats the right tackle, and he forces a strip sack. Eagles and Cowboys chasing after the ball. Eagles recover. Zach Baum recovers, to be specific. Everybody runs towards Zach Baum to celebrate. One person walks away, Bryce Huff. And he forced the play. He forced the strip sack.
Right.
And my
I didn't
thing
catch
is,
that. I don't remember catching that.
I'm looking at it right now. I found it on I found it because I was talking. I brought it up a lot throughout the season. I brought it up a lot throughout the offseason, saying like there's one play where I knew he just wasn't it.
What week was that?
This was what week do we play the Cowboys first? What was that week? Let me double check that.
In Dallas?
It was in Dallas with the first matchup. Give me 1 second. I got it right here. It was week 10.
Okay.
Week 10. And that was actually after he was starting to figure it out.
Yeah.
So, because like remember, the first 4 weeks it was a struggle. Then after the bye week, you know, he started to figure it out. I think he got a second against the Giants. I think he got half a second against Cleveland. You know, the Jacksonville game, I can't remember exactly what happened. Dallas game, he forced that strip sack. And I think he got hurt. Was it in that Washington game or whatever it may be? I can't remember, but Eagles won 34-6. Your team was up 28-6.
Right.
Y'all crushing them. And you're just not buying into the vibe.
Yeah, it could be Carson Wentz syndrome.
You know what I mean? So it gets to a point. It gets to a point where you're like, is it me or is it them?
I mean, it could be a lot. There's a lot that you can look into that.
And again, I don't know the brother. He probably was going through stuff off the field. I don't know the brother, and I don't want to pretend like I know him. I want to make sure I keep prefacing it with this because, you know, I think it's, especially knowing how that injury situation played out, I want to make sure I'm not trying to put myself inside of a player's mind as if I know them.
See,
you know
I would want to.
So I want to try to be careful with it.
Yeah, on that play specifically. More importantly,
but if you go on my page,
if you go
on my Twitter page right now, you can see it. If you go on my Twitter page, it's the first post.
I would want to see. I would want to see how his reaction was in the film room. That's what I would want to see. I would want to see like what was the interaction, what was the conversation like in the film room, because that's when you see people. Because again,
don't coaches talk about that? Like I'm not sure. Like, do coaches talk about like when plays are made? Like, do they speak about how you handle the play being made after the fact? Like, put me in the locker room. Like, do coaches say, "Hey, like y'all made this play over here. Like, we're like, why are you walking away from your guys?" I don't know. I don't know.
Not really.
I'm an onlooker. I'm a stranger trying to learn more about the situation.
It all depends on. I could see something like that happening, but to me, that would be a conversation if somebody was doing a little extra, ended up getting a penalty or something stupid like that. Usually, when you bring something up like that after the fact, it's from something stupid. But I'm sure they addressed whatever happened, who made the play, why it happened, like why he was successful on that play, because it could have been as simple as maybe in his mind, he was like, man, Fangio should have been letting me do this 4 weeks ago. So it could have been a level of frustration. It could have been nothing.
Mhm.
You know, it's just one of those things. But that is interesting. I didn't catch that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But guess what? It ain't our riddle to solve anymore.
Yeah. Again, if you go on my Twitter page, like you'll see it. It's right there.
On your
and
Twitter page?
Yeah. You go on my page, you'll literally see it. It's pretty much the first post after the pin tweet. I wrote.
Hey, real quick, I want to get to my man Blunt's super chat.
Oh yeah. I'll read it while you check it out. While you check the play out. S Blunt with the $10 super chat. He says, "Coach, what changed in your opinion in him from when you exposed him during your film study? Feel like he was not aligned with Fangio as he went with one arm BG over him. Told us everything."
Yeah, for me, it was right when he got hurt, he started playing better. That's it in a nutshell.
Yeah.
I mean, I said what I said, and I stand on it because film don't lie.
He was playing better than all of a sudden he got hurt.
Yeah, from that point to when he got hurt, he was playing better.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not a big guy. I understand how the game goes sometimes, and you know, one of my favorite sayings is sometimes you ain't got to make the play to make the play.
Mm-hmm.
So you just got to be able to do your job, and maybe you holding the edge so Nolan Smith can get home, or the Kobe Dean or Zach Bond was shooting in there and making something happen. But he was playing more close to what we expected. Then he got hurt.
Mm-hmm.
So then he's, right back to on the sideline. So just from seeing that, I'm like, okay. And I'll go back to it again. There was a reason why he had 11 sacks a couple years ago.
Yeah.
You don't just luck into 11 sacks in the league. So clearly he had talent. It was all about fitting the scheme, or very similar to what happened with Hassan Reddick the first year he was here with Gannon.
What do you say to people? What do you say to people who say, hey, he had that 10-sack season in 2023, okay. But if we're being honest, what happened this season is more on par with how his career is taken off. If you really look at his production throughout his career, now granted he was an undrafted guy, so I'm sure he had to fight for snaps. But if we're being honest, if we're just focusing on the facts, what happened in 2024 is more on par with who he is rather than the 2023 season. Is that fair to surmise?
I mean, it's fair if you want to go to it, but I could also say, okay, so let's go back to when he had them 11 sacks. Who was he on the offensive line with? Was it somebody else on the offensive line that was freeing him up, or
the defensive line? I got you.
Everybody on that edge.
Well, he was playing with Quentin Williams,
right?
I can't remember who else they had on D line, but
because think about it like this: we could be saying the same thing this year with Milt Williams in with the Patriots. Well, you ain't got Jalen Carter taking up all of the focus. You ain't got Nolan Smith on the other side. You ain't got Jordan Davis to tie up some. So I want to see who else was on there. What were they doing? There's a lot of reasons it could have happened, but regardless of what that reason is, you don't just luck into double-digit sacks in the NFL. That doesn't happen. So there has to be some talent there. Now, what happened the next year? I don't know. How many sacks did he have the following year?
Are you talking about Bryce?
Yeah.
Well, 2023 he had 10.
Right.
And with us he had like 2 or something like that. So that's 2024.
Yeah, but
so
wait a minute. So 2023 was his rookie year?
No. This dude is entering year 6, coach.
Oh, my bad. I'm thinking he's like in his 3rd or 4th year.
No, he's entering year 6. So that's why I'm like, listen, 2020, right? Now he got snaps because he played in okay, so let me just add the context of the snap counts, okay? So 2020 he was on the field for 295 defensive snaps. 2021 he was on the field for 337 defensive snaps. 2022, he was on the field for 191. 2023, he was on the field for 480 snaps. And in 2024, he was on the field for 285 snaps. Now,
and 2023 was when he had the 10 sacks.
Correct.
So I would reverse engineer it one more time and figure out there had to be a change that year. Something had to happen. Like, when did Saleh get there? Was there a new defensive coordinator? Something had to happen to spark that. Because, again, you don't just luck up into it. There has to be a reason for it.
So Robert Saleh was the coach for the Jets from 2021 to 2024. He had got fired mid-season after week 5, but he got there in 2021. Bryce Huff got to the Jets in 2020. So,
okay.
But here's the thing, though, right? He played in 9 games in 2021 with 7 starts,
right?
337 snaps. 2022 played in 14 games, 191 snaps. You lost snaps and you played more games?
Defense. Are you in there? Are you a third down guy? So that could be down the distance type thing, packages.
But 191 versus 337 snaps, 9 games versus 14 games. That's drastic. That's to me, that's more than just packaging. That sounds like that's
fair.
That sounds like inconsistency from the player, and we gotta get production from elsewhere.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I bring up the snap counts and the games played so we can have context to the production. Year 1, 14 games in 2020. Year 1, 14 games played, like? 2 sacks. Say it again.
What's his tackles looking like?
Okay, so
tackles. He gets hurries.
I'm gonna give you the entire stat line. So in 2020, 14 games played, 2 sacks, 16 combined tackles, 12 solo, 4 quarterback hits. Okay. In 2021, and 4 TFLs. In 2021, 9 games played, 7 starts, 2 sacks, 14 total tackles, 5 solo, 1 TFL, 8 QB hits.
Okay.
In 2022, 14 games played, 3.5 sacks, 6 total tackles, 4 solo, 2 TFLs, 10 quarterback hits. 2023, 17 games played, 10 sacks, 29 total tackles, 19 solo, 10 TFLs, 21 quarterback hits. In 2024, 12 games played, 6 starts, 2.5 sacks, 13 total tackles, 5 solo, 3 TFLs, 4 quarterback hits.
Okay.
If we're being completely honest, a 5-year sample size of a guy entering year 6.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it sounds like
I can make an argument.
Just
the 10 sack season was. I know you don't believe in looking into sacks. I know you don't believe in it. And I don't want to say he lucked into it. But do we believe? But can flukes happen in the NFL?
Absolutely. But I would say this. It sounds like, based on the stats you read, he got a lot of almost. Because he got a lot of quarterback hits. So is that a situation where he just didn't quite get home fast enough? So there's some wiggle room in there, and I would have to go back and watch tape on him. Mm-hmm. But I look at it like this. Who does that sound like?
How many? I don't know. How many?
Sound like that 5'5" that just retired this early in his career. That should have been cut.
I can't.
You see what I'm saying?
I can't give him that level of.
You don't have to give him that level. The comp is somebody that just kind of was middling and you thought they were a bust, and it just didn't make sense, and then all of a sudden, bam.
So fair enough. I think the difference is, though,
if a fluke is possible, because a fluke can go either way.
Fair. I think the difference is Bryce Huff was undrafted, so you probably don't expect much from an undrafted guy.
Yeah, but I don't put much into that because I could argue. Look at how many high draft picks that don't turn out to do shit.
Yeah, and as Blunt just brought up a very important point. BG, if above all else, you knew he could stop the run. If anything else, you knew he was stopping the run. Bryce Huff, he had a hard time. And you know what? To your point, S. Blunt, he came in as a pass rush specialist. I mean, he was a third down rusher. I mean, so that kind of wasn't a mystery, right? Him not being able to stop the run wasn't a mystery. The problem is the Eagles bet on a player. The Eagles bet on an ascending pass rusher thinking he could take the next step.
Yeah. They were trying to replace Hassan Reddick.
They bet on him. They bet on him taking the next step.
I wish they would have went ahead and kept Hassan. He was proven.
In hindsight, it happened the way it was supposed to happen.
It did. I do not deny that whatsoever.
Because now the word is
step back and keep it real that we just got a ring. So we nitpicking.
Yeah, of course. and I don't know if you noticed, Hassan Reddick, from what I've read and heard, he's yet to show up to OTAs for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And they just paid him $14 million.
Yeah.
So
I thought Hassan was gone when he ended up in Japan, bro.
So is it fair to say, hey, there was something, and Hassan was productive?
Yes, he was.
I get it twisted. Is it fair that this team hiring them guys saw the writing on the wall, said this guy he's productive, but there's a disconnect here, and we need to get out while we can.
Absolutely.
And Hassan, just since leaving, he didn't show up for the Jets.
He ain't been the same.
And he ain't really been the same.
Maybe Hassan is the same. Like his mental aspect is the same as like we were talking about Mekhi Becton. Sometimes a change in scenery is for the best, or it's for the worst.
He ended up playing 10 games for the Jets. He only got 1 sack and 2 TFLs. His best years were with the Eagles.
Yeah. I just felt bad with specifically on Hassan. I felt bad because Hassan outplayed his contract, and he deserved to get his payday, especially in his hometown. And I felt bad because you were born 2 years too early. If he was 28, we wouldn't have been having this conversation. But the NFL sees that plus 30 years old, and it changes all the rules. I don't think it should be, because again, how many quarterbacks do they pay all this money? Kirk Cousins is stealing money.
That's the one position in the league where it's the market. Like that's the one position in the league where you can be mediocre and get paid.
Absolutely. And I understand that. But I mean, the point is like quarterback is the obvious example, but you can look at any position. They done paid this person all that money. We paid Bryce Huff all of this money, all of these people, receivers and skill positions, and it just doesn't work out.
In theory,
for whatever reason. And I'm the Asamoah. Doesn't work out.
Yeah.
But he was great when he was in Oakland.
Yeah.
When he was with the Raiders, he was good.
Byron Maxwell, yeah.
Yeah. So, sometimes those things happen. And again, I kind of go back to what I said earlier, man. People don't come to these teams to just not play. And not live up to where they are, even if your skills are declining. Even if your skills are declining, you still got enough pride to want to put something, on the field. Everybody doesn't fall off the cliff like James Bradbury did. James Bradbury was more than solid in 22.
Yeah, that was spooky.
And then all of a sudden, I was like, is there a hidden injury that we're not seeing, or like what? Because he fell off the cliff.
You ever seen Space Jam?
Yes.
You remember that scene where the aliens went to the basketball game and they stole Charles Barkley and Patrick Ewing's talent?
Yes. I saw that movie in Scotland, bro.
It was like that's what it seemed like. It seemed like somebody from the stands
sucked his sweat out.
Shot James Bradbury with an alien laser beam and took his talent, and he was never the same.
You know what? I joked about it, but it looked like he was running in oatmeal. It looked like he had lost all of his. He was never blazing fast, but he was long and he was fast enough. And all of a sudden, just like he lost it.
Yeah, the crazy thing about Bradbury is he knew where he needed to be. He just couldn't get there.
Couldn't get there.
He couldn't get there, and it was crazy, man. He lost all that. He lost a lot of that, man. Like you said, he wasn't ever fast to begin with. So when you lose that, it was nuts, man. So yeah, man. Bryce Huff, wish you the best, brother. You know, it didn't work out. It is
enjoy
what
the
it
shrimp
is.
out in San Francisco.
Right. And look, just to move the conversation forward, I look at Harry Roseman as a guy that he didn't make any bad decisions throughout this whole process. And what I mean by that is you gambled on a player, you lost. It is what it is. You move on from it, and there's no ego involved. There's some GMs in football where, because they're so hell bent on keeping their jobs, they feel the need to try to force something or try to make something work or do everything possible to make it work because they feel like they invested too much money. Harry Roseman, I respect the swing, and I'm always going to respect the GM for taking swings.
He cuts his losses.
And if things don't work out, hey, you go back to the bullpen and you regroup. You know what I mean? So like, or the dugout. Excuse me. You go back to the dugout and you regroup. So I'm never mad at Harry Roseman taking the swing. Right? He took a lot of swings last year, and they worked out. Let's be honest. Let's really discuss all the swings Harry Roseman's taken, because a lot of these moves define your season, and a lot of the moves and a lot of the swings or moves he's going to have to make this offseason will define the Eagles season. Right? Let's just think about the 2024 offseason, the swings he's took, and which ones connected, which ones didn't. Bryce Huff, we know that didn't connect. We know that was a strikeout. Happens.
Yep.
Zach Bond, home run.
Home run.
So now he's 1 for 2.
Devin, the linebacker.
Devin White, that was a swing and a miss. So he's 1 for 3.
Yeah.
So now we're talking 33% hit rate, right?
CJ Gardner-Johnson.
Keep thinking about it in the baseball terms. So
CJ Gardner-Johnson, that's 2 at bats.
That's 2 at bat. That's another hit. So now
that's a triple in the home run right there.
So 2 for 4.
Yeah.
Right? Saquon Barkley, some people consider that a swing.
That's a grand slam.
Some people consider that a swing because when we signed him, that is a grand slam. That's a
home run with 4 RBIs, bro.
That's a swing because there were some people who thought he was cooked.
Yeah.
And on top of that, you're paying a running back that kind of money. A lot of people didn't think Harry Roseman will ever pay a running back that kind of money. Letting Swift walk, letting Miles Sanders walk, right? Like people thought that was a risk. So
what about Jahan?
So at that point, I'm still cooking. So now he's 3 for 5. So now he's 3 for 5 on the day, right?
He back 600.
Zach Bond, Saquon, and CJGJ. So Huff and Devin White were misses. I'm 3 for 5. Now Mekhi Becton. Now I'm 4 for 6. Now who'd you say?
Jahan Dotson.
Jahan Dotson. I would say I'm 5 for 7 because he showed up in the Super Bowl.
Exactly.
I would say I'm 5 for 7.
Exactly. They pinched him and he got on base.
Right. So we could stay there. Those are just the free agents. We can just stay there. 5 for 7. That's Hall of Fame batting. That's beyond Hall of Fame.
Isaiah Rodgers.
You feel Isaiah Rodgers. Now I'm 6 for 8. So again, I always think about roster construction.
Yeah.
In baseball terms. Now, at the end of the day, you're swinging and you're hoping you get a hit. And even if he hit on 33% of those guys I mentioned, what's the batting average they say will you guarantee for the Hall of Fame? What is it, batting 275 or 300? Like they pretty much say if you bat 275 or above in the MLB or 300 above, like you're guaranteed for Hall of Fame. In the MLB, if you average hitting 2 out of 5, 3 out of 5 times for your season, every game, you had a good season. And that's how difficult it is to hit on players. It's just as difficult to hit a baseball. It's difficult because there's so many variables that go into it. You know what I mean? So I look at Harry Roseman. He made a lot of moves in the 2024 offseason that ultimately ended up defining that run. Mekhi Becton at right guard. CJGJ at safety. Zach Bond. Isaiah Rodgers. You know what I mean? Like he really signed starters that people thought would be rotational guys or special teams guys.
And they contributed.
And they contributed. So then you get to the 2025 season now. What are the swings he's taking that can potentially define the season? Okay. Isaiah Ojulari, Josh Uche. You did bring back Patrick Johnson.
We'll see.
We'll see what that we'll see how that works. What
But
else?
anybody, to me, in it now, and I've said this before,
AJ Dillon.
AJ Dillon. Anybody on the defense, and you going under Vic Fangio for a while, I'm good, because Vic Fangio is going to fish him out.
Yeah.
So I'm solid with that. Anybody on offense, I think Dillon's going to be a decent back, as long as he don't get his bell rung again. So we'll see with our offensive line. You can put anybody back there running back. They're gonna get some positive yards.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm good with that. So we basically reloaded at every skill position. We're good.
It's one of those situations where you look at the Eagles and you say, man, Harry Roseman just knows how to find.
Yeah,
he knows how to find guys that are motivated.
absolutely.
And for the most part, they target guys with traits that they can tap into. You know what I mean? So I think the Eagles are in great shape, to be quite honest with you. And we'll see how it turns out, though. We'll see how it turns out.
Closing this conversation with Bryce Huff, Warvay says, at the end of the day, we paid a bag for a third down specialist. QB hits and hurries don't matter to me, and you can still throw touchdowns getting hit and hurry. That's true.
Yeah,
that's true. It's a little bit harder to do that, but that's true. And we didn't get a chance to read Kyle's. Talking about a cornerback from the Browns to be traded, Newsome.
Oh yeah. I heard about he's actually a pretty good player.
You think Howie interested?
I think I'm glad you brought that up, and that actually helps the conversation move forward. So we're in OTAs, and a lot of people have been talking about making a move for Ramsey, making a move for Trey Hendrickson, making a move for another veteran corner, making a move for Justin Simmons, right? A lot of people have been talking about bringing these guys up, right? And I think what's going to end up happening, I think Howie is ultimately going to, and the coaches, of course, I think they're ultimately going to evaluate what they have first. You have to find out what you have.
Facts.
And then you'll be able to say, okay, I need to sprinkle something over here. I need more over here. You know what I mean? I don't think they're going to just jump out the gate, because they did free up some cap space. But I don't think they're going to jump out the gate and just throw money at the first big name that people want them to go get. I think the Eagles are fully aware that they're gambling at safety with two young guys, and Sidney Brown and Andrew McCouber. They're gambling there. I think they're fully aware that they're gambling on Keely Ringo.
Yeah.
I think they're fully aware that they're gambling on that edge position opposite Nolan Smith. Jalix Hunt, I expect him to take the next step. But anybody beyond that, it's like
Jalix, I don't have any concern about Jalix Hunt.
Neither do I, by the way. I think Jalix Hunt's going to take the next step. I like his mentality. Did you watch his press conference recently?
Yeah, I caught half of it. I didn't see the whole thing yet, but
he spoke a lot.
He's a confident kid, and when you got that chip on your shoulder from a small school, the only way to go is up.
Yeah,
and they seem to like him. So
and he's
Vic Fangio seems to like him.
He's a learner. He's a learner. He's a guy that wants to get better.
Yeah.
The one thing that stood out to me about his press conference is when he spoke about the biggest thing he learned from the 2024 run was learning how to follow. And he was really leaning on his vets like Jalen Hurts and BG, and he was really leaning on his vets and just paying attention to their process. And so on and so forth. And he learned from the OG, from BG and them guys. He learned that, well, for one, he said his main thing in the offseason is focusing on expanding his pass rush repertoire, making his bag deep, getting more in his bag, and also developing his pass rush plan. He said what he learned from BG and those guys and Sweat and Milton and all those guys is that your bag can be as deep as you want, but you got to have a plan for the person you're going to be going up against that week.
Right.
So he says
that makes sense.
So he says the pass rush bag is different from the pass rush plan. You can have a bag, you can have the deepest bag in the world, but if you're using the wrong move against the wrong guy, it doesn't mean anything. So he's been really dedicating himself to really giving himself enough tools on the tool belt and the toolkit so he can refine his pass rush plan against various opponents and define that plan each and every week. So he's been really taking serious his technique and taking his strength very serious this offseason. Because I think for a guy who transitioned from safety to edge, I think his measurables are insane.
Ridiculous.
I think he can get stronger and still
let me be honest with you,
maintain that speed.
I forgot about that. I forgot about him used to being a safety. But also, let's not forget that we are one of the few teams, because everybody says this.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody in the chat just said, "Ooh, you put Huff with Bosa? Ooh, that's going to be good." Everybody says that in the offseason. We're the only team where we can say, man, you had Nolan Smith and Jalen Hunt. You had Nolan Smith and Jalen Carter. You had Jalen Carter and Milt Williams.
Mm-hmm.
Those combinations were unstoppable. And it proved itself to be true. And I think for us, at this specific time, for the next, I don't know, 3 to 4 years, Jalen Carter is our catalyst on defense. Everything revolves around him.
I agree.
Because you're still not going to find anybody that's going to be able to stop him. And as long as he's in the center wrecking shop and causing offensive lines to double team him, that means there will always be somebody else on our defensive line that's going to eat. That is a good problem to have. Everybody says it, but it doesn't necessarily manifest the way everybody thinks it will. I'm very interested to see Detroit this year. Because your boy is healthy now.
Aiden Hutchinson?
Aiden Hutchinson is healthy. And he's somebody that you got a game plan. Which means now you go into a game, we got to handle him. If we can't handle him, and this is, once again, this is getting back to our advantage. Can you handle Aiden Hutchinson one-on-one? If you can handle him one-on-one, problem solved. Yes, he's going to beat you. You're going to lose a couple, but you got him by yourself. Jalen Carter, you can't handle him by yourself. So you got to pull resources from somewhere.
Right.
Ask the Chiefs how that worked out for them. So we got that advantage and everybody does it. But I'm interested, Detroit, they can talk about Bosa all they want. Wasn't nobody worried about Bosa last year?
Yeah, you have to when you got guys like Bosa, you got guys like Aiden Hutchinson on your line, even Aaron
Look at
Donald,
Hendrickson in Cincinnati.
He's a guy. His situation is so interesting to me because
weird. My hometown, man. They think he's loser, bro.
He doesn't get the same fanfare
he doesn't
as a Myles Garrett or a TJ Watt or a Bosa or a Max Crosby. He doesn't get that same fanfare, but he's just as productive as those guys.
Did you hear?
And they're going to have to pay him like that.
Did you hear what Gilbert Arenas said about that? I don't know if it was an old podcast. He said he talked to a GM one time, and he was looking at two players. One was a superstar, one wasn't, but they both averaged 25 a night. And he kept asking, he was like, why is his 25 different from his 25 a night? And the GM said, just watch him. Watch what he does, how he interacts, how people gravitate towards him. Some people just have that aura for whatever reason. They just got it. Brandon
Yeah.
Graham, he just got it.
Yeah,
He's that
there's
dude.
guys.
It's a tangible feeling.
Yeah,
Everybody ain't got it like that.
no,
And
yeah,
maybe
I
Hendrickson
feel you.
just, you know,
Some
I
guys
don't know.
just some guys are just lunch pail guys. They come in, do their job, go home. They're not.
Exactly.
Listen, a lot of these guys, you know, they go crazy with the gear. They got the tattoos. You know, they got the gloves. They got the special cleats. You know, they just look the part. When you look at Trey Henderson, kind of awkward body frame, long arms, kind of round a little bit. You know what I mean? Doesn't wear gloves.
He built like a lumberjack.
He just like he does like he's a guy that if you saw on the street, you'll probably feel like, oh, he does something. But you won't recognize, like you won't know what it is. Like you won't
He
know.
ain't got the tattoos like Max Crosby.
Yeah.
You know, all of that. I mean, but
look, and all that stuff is for show. That doesn't mean anything. I'm more like production is what matters in this league. And
exactly.
for some reason, Cincinnati is playing with this man.
Man, my hometown just be tripping sometimes, bro.
I don't understand. I don't understand it.
We let too many people up out of there. Yeah, don't make me sing Cincinnati's lament.
Bro, listen to this production from Trey Hendrickson since 2020. 2020, 13 and a half sacks, 12 TFLs, 25 quarterback hits. 2021, 14 sacks, 12 TFLs, 27 quarterback hits. 2022, 8 sacks, 6 TFLs, 24 quarterback hits. 2023, 17 and a half sacks, 16 TFLs, 25 quarterback hits. 2024, his best season of his career. 17 and a half sacks.
Damn.
19 TFLs.
Damn.
36 quarterback hits. First team All-Pro, Pro Bowler.
And they don't know if they want to give him a contract. But you know what the problem with that is? Because they signed him. Cincinnati is an offensive team right now. Joe Burrow has to outscore everybody.
And I didn't know he was in New Orleans at first, by the way. He was drafted in the 3rd round by New Orleans. Trey Hendrickson. Yeah. I didn't know that.
Cincinnati spent all their money on the receivers.
That's such a mistake.
That's
such a mistake.
So Joe Cool, he gonna do his thing, and they gonna put up a lot of points, but they ain't gonna win because defense wins championships.
That's such a mistake. And it's not a mistake because of the players.
Yeah,
you any team will pay those players. It's not about Jamar Chase. It's not about T. Higgins. I want to make that very clear so no one gets me misconstrued. It's not about the players. It's about how Cincinnati handled those transactions.
Yeah.
Cincinnati could have paid Jamar Chase way sooner.
Way sooner.
They could have paid T. Higgins way sooner.
And probably cheaper.
They played, yes. They played around, and they were forced to pay both of those guys in the same offseason.
Which makes no sense.
Which makes no sense whatsoever. No sense whatsoever. You were better off, to be honest with you. You were better off.
Don't disrespect Joey, man. Don't disrespect Joe Cool, bro.
You were better off franchise tagging T. Higgins again.
Yep.
And trading him. Getting a bunch back, going heavy on defense, drafting a young receiver to pair with Jamar, maybe drafting another tight end. Like, they do not know how to build rosters over there. Like, build it the right way.
They shoot themselves in the foot, man. They always shoot themselves in the foot. Like you said, it could have been avoided. It is going to be. I mean, look at what Joe Burrow did the back half of that year. If they could have had any semblance of some defensive consistency, they'd have been in the playoffs. They'd have been a good team in the playoffs.
They probably would have been. Would have been in the conference championship.
In spite of all of that nonsense that was going on in Cincinnati, Joe Burrow still almost got him there.
That offense was humming, and they just couldn't keep points on the board.
And that's why people talk all of that shit on us.
But there were also games.
You know, Jalen Hurts, anybody can win with that team, and you got Saquon, and you got AJ, and I'm like, ain't that what every team is trying to get?
Exactly.
You're trying to get stacked all around at every position, and how come can't nobody do it?
Yeah. And also, like, let's just talk about contenders, right? The Buffalo Bills, the Ravens, Chiefs, all those teams, right? Green Bay, San Fran. I can go Lions. They're trying to build a situation where their quarterback doesn't have to do the heavy lifting.
Correct.
Like they're trying to create a situation where it's more balanced, where their quarterback like when your quarterback is forced to be the guy all the time,
All the time. And you
that
can't,
that
you can't
I don't think that's sustainable. I don't care how good he is.
exactly. Look
I
at
don't think
Lamar
it's
Jackson.
sustainable.
Look at Lamar Jackson. He hits the guy in the hands, makes the pass that you need to make. If the tight end catches that ball, the whole conversation with Lamar is totally different. And it ain't got nothing to do with Lamar. He did what he was supposed to do, but the guy the guy catching the ball didn't catch it.
But then you got to take it a step further and say, okay, let me ask you a question before I say this. Are you one of those people who believes a game is lost and a game is won and lost in one play versus a game is won and lost by a cumulative amount of plays?
I believe both things are true. I believe when Jimmy Garoppolo was in the NFC Championship game and that safety dropped that softball of an interception, if he catches that ball, they ice the game. San Francisco goes to the Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo. So is that Jimmy Garoppolo's fault?
I thought that was in the Super Bowl.
Was that in the Super Bowl or was that to get to the? I can't remember. Whatever it was.
No, wait, no, you're right. You're right. It was Niners Rams, wasn't it?
It was, what was that dude's name?
It was Niners Rams. I think you're right. It was when the Rams went to the Super Bowl that year against the
The
Bengals.
dude
No,
got
I
a
think you're right.
softball.
No, I think you're right.
If he catches that ball, which they go through in practice every day, if they work on them drills, all of that type of stuff, and you get a softball that slides through the middle of your arms, if he catches that ball that he would catch 99 of 100 times, San Francisco wins that game, and the whole conversation about Jimmy Garoppolo was totally different. But it wasn't anything that he did.
I remember that game. That was the conference championship. That was when the Rams beat the Niners. It was 20.
Is it
Jaquiski Tartt? Yep, because we we signed him, I think, the following season.
Yes.
Jaquiski Tartt dropped that.
But to answer the question, two things can be true.
Okay.
If it's third and 4 and you got the team backed up inside the 15-yard line with less than 2 minutes left in the game, and you up by 5, but then you jump off sides and you jump off sides and you jump off sides, or pass interference or whatever. If you shoot yourself in the foot with penalties, or you do something stupid, hit to the head or something goofy like that, and you let them off the hook and they score, whose fault is that? Is that the quarterback's fault? Because the quarterback is the only one going to get credited with that L. So for me, it really comes down to, you look at all of the games, you look at how they play, you look at how they win, you look at how they lost. Why is everybody so enamored with Washington all of a sudden? Washington was a Hail Mary from not making it to the playoffs anyways.
A couple
so I look at stuff like that, and you got to let's give it a dose of reality and let's put luck into it, because sometimes people are lucky.
But how long? So let me say, I think I would have to agree with you, right? I don't think the game is as simple as boiling it down to one play.
Yes.
And I also don't think the game is as simple as saying, well, yeah. I don't think the game is as simple as boiling down to just one play. I don't.
Agreed.
Now, obviously, when you get into the back and forth with fan bases, you sometimes you ignore your right mind and you ignore the nuances just to prove a point. That happens, right? But if we're having an adult sports conversation with context and nuance, I am willing to say, hey, Lamar, he did put the ball where it was supposed to be in that game. He did.
Yeah.
But then also, I can't ignore that he turned the ball over twice.
Agreed.
You know what I mean? Like it's certain things. It's certain things that I can turn my head at, and there's certain things that I can't just take my eyes off of.
If Jalen Hurts does not fumble, do we have 2 Super Bowl victories in the past 3 years? That was an unforced error. Nobody touched him.
That was an unforced error.
So if he holds on to the ball, or at the very least, we make the tackle before they score, do we hold them to a field goal? Does the outcome change? Are we worried about what happened with James Bradbury towards the end of the game? Does that even come into play? The dominoes fall a totally different way if he doesn't fumble that ball.
And I'm not willing to say he lost that game with that fumble. I'm not willing to say that. Because
I think it was the punt return later in the game.
Because I believe they went into the half, they went halftime up by double digits still.
Okay, so to that point, because I think the same exact way. And Lamar fumbled the ball twice, but he still got him to the point where they had an opportunity to win. So did he overcome the mistakes? Mistakes happen on both sides.
Yeah.
But you only remember the mistakes of the team that lost.
And hold on real quick. Let's go back to that Super Bowl. The fumble, right? What was the play that happened before? Do you remember?
Happened before?
The Eagles were 3rd-and-1, I believe. 3rd-and-1. They were going to convert. They got it, actually. Seumalo had a false start. Pushed them back to 3rd and 6. That following play, Jalen Hurts fumbles.
Trying to scramble. What's his name? Nick Bolton on the rush.
Right. So I say that. So I ain't gonna lie. I'm one of those people who, and my wife tells me to stop thinking like this all the time. But I tend to go to the root of an issue too quickly. And what I mean by that is, like, I'm one of those people. Well, if you didn't do this, this wouldn't happen.
Yes,
I'm one of those.
I agree.
If you didn't do this, if you didn't do X and Y, Z wouldn't have happened. And my wife sometimes says, "Listen, yes, X and Y happened. We still got to deal with Z."
Exactly. So again, two things can be true.
So I say, if Isaac Seumalo would have did his freaking job and not came off the line, Hurts wouldn't fumble. That's how psychotic my brain. That's how dark my brain gets.
You're not the only one, but here's the thing I used to tell my kids when I coached. Shout out to the GT Stallions in South Jersey, right? I would tell my kids, what I need you to do is win this play. Don't worry about what just happened. Don't worry about what may happen. I need you to win this play. I need to beat your man this play. And then once you beat your man this play, do it again.
Yeah, I feel you.
So from that perspective, your wife is right.
Yeah, no. I know she's right.
The bad stuff is gonna happen. And you got to be able to overcome it. The teams that overcome the bad stuff win.
Yeah, that's true. It's so funny though when you think about both of those Super Bowls real quick. Because I definitely want to get back to this offseason with the Eagles, but when you think about those 2 Super Bowls, Eagles Chiefs, both of them, 2022 and 2024. The Eagles offense did the exact same thing. Dominated.
Yeah.
The difference was the defense.
The defense was the difference.
That was the difference. You can make an argument the Eagles were better than the Chiefs all along. All along. The difference was defense showed up one game, defense did.
Yeah.
The number one defense showed up when they was the number one defense showed up when they were supposed to be the number one defense. And in 2022, were they the number one defense or were they the number 2 defense? Let me see here. I got it right here. So in 2022, Jalen Hurts had a number 1. So the number 1 defense didn't show up in the 2022 season. It didn't show up in that Super Bowl, but the number 1 defense showed up in the 2024-2025 Super Bowl. So, yeah. Yeah.
Watch this. What's 40 minus 14? The 26?
Say that again.
40 minus 14.
40 minus 14. That's 26.
That's 26.
Mhm.
So if you take Cooper's pick six and you take Zach Bond's interception in the red zone,
Which led to a touchdown.
correct. So you take 14 points off the board, and we give up that fourth quarter that we did with 22 points in the fourth quarter with Patrick Mahomes slinging the ball like that. Now, granted, we had backups in the secondary that shouldn't have been in there, but they scored. So you take them two defensive plays off the table, and that game looks a whole lot of different.
But I can't even say it that simply because they scored those points because the Eagles had the game in hand. Like the game was.
I agree.
Right.
I agree 100%. I'm just using
because I've thought about that, by the way. I've thought about what you just said.
Right.
But I stopped myself from getting too far with that thought because I said to myself, well, a lot of circumstances led to them getting those 22 points, right?
Correct.
Eagles are whooping their ass. Eagles put backups in. You know, at this point, now the Eagles are just settling for field goals and just playing to keep adding points. You know what I mean? So it wasn't like that game was they were manhandled in that game.
Right. I guess my point is that we made the plays that we had to make. We didn't let the ball hit the ground. Cooper DeJean didn't drop a pick six. Zach Bond didn't drop an interception.
Guys did their job. Guys did their job.
If Avonte Maddox doesn't make that deflection, make the play you need to make. Win this play. We did that better than they did.
Yeah.
Caliendo couldn't make the block. Tooney could not make the block. They couldn't stop what we had coming. So we won those plays. And ultimately, play after play after play after play after play. And then before you know it, it's 40-22. And it was 40-0 in the fourth quarter or something like that. So we clearly had the edge.
40-6, I think, at one point. It was 34-6. There was a point where it was 34-0.
Yes.
It was 34-0.
And they were on the other side talking about, well, you saw what the Patriots did against Atlanta.
Yo, that happened right. That it's so funny because that was their conversation right before the dagger.
Yes. Correct. Right before the dagger. And
they were
you know what? I felt bad because my sister lived in Atlanta.
Yo, do you ever go back and do you watch like the mic'd ups and do you watch the NFL film stuff like that?
NFL film stuff I watch.
Yo, watching that Super Bowl NFL films and how they chronicled it and documented it, everything, it's cinema. It's cinema. Watch the way the Chiefs completely lost faith in their God. They lost all faith in their Lord and Savior, Patrick Mahomes. They were like, "Oh no, we're cooked. We're cooked." Look, man, all I know is it's the 2025 season. The Eagles have an opportunity to
run it back.
Not only run it back, but they have a chance to probably be more interesting defensively because there's more youth.
Absolutely.
Because that edge rusher position just got reloaded with some talented guys who are trying to prove it. What's your biggest concern? Because, we talk confidently about the Eagles going into the 2025 season. What's your biggest concern with this team going into the season?
My biggest concern?
Yeah, your personal biggest concern. It may not be popular, but like, what's your concern? What's your biggest concern that you think about all the time that keeps you up at night when it comes to the Eagles going into the season?
Well, I sleep quite well, thank you.
Metaphorically.
The only thing that I'm concerned a little bit is Dallas Goedert staying on the field.
Really?
I'm not worried about our secondary. I think Sidney Brown is fine. And then we got Drew Makuba. So We got depth where we need depth. I don't think we have any issues on defense. I think Keely Ringo's a player. And if he's not, I think Vic Fangio, I got enough faith in him now. Whoever he has in there is going to play, period. So I don't know. Concern is a strong word with me right now because I don't have any. I got some questions, but I'm not concerned whatsoever.
Okay. That's fair.
Maybe who's our backup tight end now?
It's still Grant Calcaterra.
I'm good. I'm good. Maybe, you know what? Kevin Patullo? Is he going to change too much? Is it going to be more of the same and everybody got a year to catch up with us? You know, if the first time Jalen has a bad game throwing the ball, are they going to be looking at him like, are they going to blame it on Sirianni's offense?
You know what's so funny about the whole notion of catching up to the Eagles in 2025? What they did in 2024 wasn't elaborate. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't like it wasn't some unique scheme thing that the league has to catch up with. You know what I mean? They just beat your ass.
And we went back to the old
the line of scrimmage.
Bear Bryant, Green Bay Packer type. We just beat the hell out of you in the trenches, and we had the personnel to do it.
How do you try to stop? That's one thing that's always going to happen. One thing that's guaranteed. Death. Well, a few things are guaranteed in life. This is death and taxes.
Death and taxes.
Death and taxes. The Eagles were death and taxes in 2024. They were inevitable.
Defense. I like that.
They were inevitable. They were like Thanos. They were inevitable. The result was already written. It was preordained. And the way they were playing football in 2024, it's not some unique like schematic thing. It was just okay. No. My offensive line is better than you guys. My defense is better than you guys. Our running back is a freak of nature. Our quarterback is the truth. Our receiving core is the truth. We're just going to play bully ball.
Bully ball across the board. We're better at you at every position.
We're just going to play power football. Simple. That's why I think it's going to be so difficult for teams to even to stop the Eagles in 2025 still, because it's not something that's elaborate that schematically you can just stop. You need to have the personnel to stop these guys.
Yeah, we can still go most teams, and you go player, position across the board, and we still come out on top. There's not going to be too many matchups where Devontae Smith loses, AJ Brown loses, Saquon Barkley loses, Jalen Hurts loses. Our offensive line, Lane Johnson, Jordan Mailata, Landon Dickerson, Cam Jurgens. Who's going to be our center? Our right guard.
I have that slated for Tyler Steen as of right now.
Yeah. So he's a question mark. So there's one guy on our offensive line that's a question mark, surrounded by everybody else.
And by the way, Mailata, the PFF just dropped their rankings for top tackles in football.
Yeah, he got number 1.
And Mailata was number 1. And Lane Johnson got number 5. Lane Johnson was the highest ranked right tackle on the list. And Mailata was the highest ranked left tackle on the list. Dog. Like, how do you even game plan? How do you stop that? The death taxes Philadelphia. It's inevitable.
And then flip it. And you can say the same thing on our defense. Now, defense is a little bit more of a variable because you could have the best cornerbacks in the world, and you could have an average wide receiver, and every now and then that average wide receiver is going to beat that good quarterback.
Yeah, that's the nature of the position, though. That's the nature of the position.
But for the most part, where it counts in the trenches, you ain't got nobody that can line up with Jalen Carter. Nobody. And then you spread it out. We're going to see what Jahai looks like. We already know what Zach looks like. Maybe N'Kobe's coming back. And we got Reed, and we got Quinyon, and we got Coop. You already know what they're like. They've played above and beyond their years. And now they got another year under their belt and another year under Fangio. So now you got unspoken communication. You got no thinking. You got fellas flying around on that defense. They know where they're supposed to be and when they're supposed to be there. You do not have to think. And
right about that.
Again, even on our defense, go position to position and you line them up against anybody in the league and we still match up better, regardless of what people will say.
And honestly, I think Jalen Hurts, he's entering year 6, his 5th year as a starter. Yep. He's entering his 5th year as a starter, his 6th year in the league. I think Jalen Hurts is just starting to enter his prime. Like I think Jalen Hurts, I think some of his best football is still in front of him still.
The biggest thing that I like with Kevin Patullo, and I don't know this because we've heard this type of stuff before, is that him and Shane Steichen are very similar. And I like Shane Steichen because we got the best year out of Jalen Hurts that we could have gotten statistically. I like the way Jalen was throwing the ball when Shane Steichen was here. Yeah. So maybe we can tap into that and whatever problems can get ironed out from the passing game from last year. And then maybe he can, surpass that magical 4,000 yards in passing that everybody wants to see him do. That's the only way that people would be convinced that he's a legit elite quarterback.
They want to see? They want to see Jalen throw 4,000 yards, 30 passing touchdowns, have 10 rushing. That's what they want.
Exactly.
That's what they want.
And we might do it. I'm very curious to see how much we run the tush push this year. And I would imagine that more people are going to stop us this year.
Interesting.
And I'm surprised nobody's done this. I'm surprised nobody is lined up for the tush push like we line up for the tush push. Get a couple.
I see what you're saying.
Get an extra linebacker back there and have them lined up right behind the defensive tackle or wherever. And when the snap of the ball, they push.
I think teams don't want to fully commit to that because they don't want to be caught off guard if a variation of it happens.
Correct. And that's the strategy of it and why it works. We ran that little fake reverse, even though we had limited success with it, it still kept teams honest.
Right.
But I used to question, I understand why, but I was like, everybody knows we're running this push. Why the hell is Devontae Smith on the field? Why is he out there? Who he pushing? He won 70 soaking wet.
No, that's true. But Devontae's willing. That's what I like about Devontae, man. He is willing.
Yeah, he willing, man. But you can't argue with physics, bro.
I feel you on that. Yo, physics. Smash that like button, y'all. Come on, man. Smash that like button. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channels. That like button, all that engagement, it's currency in this YouTube space. You guys got to stay active. You guys only got 2 jobs. Relax and smash that like button. So make sure you guys are engaged in the content. Make sure you guys are locked in. We got well over 170 people, 180 people tuned into this thing. And you guys got to get active, man. You got to get active. Smash the like button. We're live on 2 channels. We're live on Pro Fan Talk, Coach Marcus's channel, and we're live on Chalk It Up Sports, where no matter if we win or if we lose, we just got to charge to the game. Make sure you guys smash that like button. It is truly, truly the lifeblood. It's the lifeblood of this YouTube space. It's how new people find the show. It's how YouTube recommends the show. So make sure you guys continue to smash that like button. It's uber important. It's very important. Yes, yeah, man. But I'm trying to think. Was there anything else we need to touch on? Because look, I could talk football with you all day. So is there anything specific that you wanted to touch on that we didn't get to?
Nah. Pump your brakes with all the OTA talk. We got another. They practice again next week.
I know something real quick. OTAs? Real quick, we could probably start to close it out here. They've been trying out Cooper DeJean on the outside, specifically in base formation. And my thought process is, everybody, relax. It's OTAs. They're experimenting. They're just playing
They're
around with things.
experimenting, but ultimately, I'm like, if it ain't
But
broke, don't fix it.
ultimately, he's staying in the slot.
Yeah. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
What makes him dynamic, and also when you think about his build and how he's just physically constructed, he belongs in the slot. I think I don't think he's wiry enough to play the outside right now. He just
wiry doesn't matter to me because he's that.
I could be off,
and he can jump out the gym.
True. And look, I don't want to get into the capabilities because I don't think it's about his capabilities. I just like him in the slot. I think he's way better in the slot. I think you have full access to. I think you tap into his entire skill set, his entire toolbox in the slot. Whereas on the outside, now you're kind of hamstringing him, and now he can only affect the game in so many ways.
You're not going to get too many players like him that come in at this level, coming from where he come from, and he is basically fundamentally sound right off the bat.
Reed Blankenship talked about it on their podcast. Have you watched their podcast?
Not yet. Mike? I haven't caught it yet. I'm gonna check it out, but I haven't.
Pretty good. It's pretty good. It's fun. You get a new side of Cooper DeJean because he's very reserved.
Yeah.
But Reed Blankenship spoke about the fact that when Coop came in, like he was saying he got things down so fast.
Yeah.
Coop didn't play those first 4 weeks. He was recovering from the injury, and also, he missed a lot of he missed a lot of training camp time. So they just wanted to make sure he was good to go. But Reed was like, he caught on so fast, and once he caught on, there was no looking back.
Yeah, those are the guys that make the squad and have the best performance. Is the guys that can pick up the offense or the defensive scheme. So that way, again,
he's not on the field thinking. Quinyon, same thing. They're such smart players.
Yeah. Yep.
It's ridiculous.
Yep. What's up, Tiff? What's your question?
What's going on, Tiff? And S. Blunt has something here. He says, you want someone who can, well, for one, he said slot is almost like another linebacker. He is physical and athletic enough to be great at slot. He also says you want someone who can almost like another linebacker. You want someone who can almost like another linebacker like DeJean. The biggest question I have on this team is Ringo. I get what he's saying. So yeah, like S. Blunt, he's you're right. DeJean is somebody who has the way he plays the game, and because of how he's built and the physicality he plays with, and the tackling prowess he has, and the coverage prowess he has, he makes that defense so versatile. In this NFL, teams are passing on first down now. You know what I mean? So him being in the slot, in particular in nickel formation, allows them to play in nickel all the time because he can defend the run. Zach Bond as well. They can cover and they can defend the run. So it gives them leeway. It gives them versatility. So they don't. Right. So they're never caught out of position. Because sometimes in base formation, you can get caught in the air because you got three linebackers on the field. You're more susceptible to the pass game there. In the nickel, in theory, you're supposed to be more susceptible to the run because you got less bigger bodies. But DeJean and Bond,
they're bringing them hybrids. And even when we had when CJ was still here, CJ was a great run stopper.
Yeah. So, he wasn't the biggest dude, but he was willing. He hit those body around.
Willing. He laid the wood on you.
Yeah.
But that's just Vic Fangio moving the chess pieces on the board.
Yeah, man. And then the draft picks. I mean, I know I said this to you last time we spoke, but I feel like in this defense, with this DC, with this coaching staff, with the players, I think Jahai Campbell is going to go crazy.
He's gonna go off, man.
I think Jahai Campbell is going to go crazy, bro.
I can't wait to see him in camp, man. I'm on. I got to see. So we got the second round, and then there's a third round of OTAs, I believe. I might try to get up that third round of OTAs. So,
I think Tyra. Ty, have you seen some of the footage of Ty Robinson at OTAs?
Yes, sir.
He doesn't wear gloves. He's a psychopath. He doesn't wear gloves.
I told you.
I ain't gonna lie. I want a guy on my team that don't wear gloves because I know they're willing to risk it all.
That kid is for real.
He's huge. Kid is for real. Did you see him in the lineup? Like with just like the guy when the camera was panning and you saw all the guys. He's huge.
Yeah.
Like, Bro, the way he threw that damn what's that thing where they push up and they throw it? What is that?
The big not the donut, but I know what you're talking about. It's like the block and dummy.
Yeah,
the big orange thing.
He pushed that thing up and threw that shit. That thing flew. I'm
Listen,
like, yo,
man, some of the stuff that how they train now, and Nebraska got money coming out the wazoo, so they got all the technology. They got the thing where that same big dummy, except it's on the spring, and they launch it at you, and you got to catch it. You got to catch it and counteract the force coming at you, and that thing got to be like 50, 60 pounds or more. So, like the stuff that they do now that these kids train with it's off the charts, man. So,
yeah, bro.
I'm looking forward to Ty Robinson. I've been a fan of Ty Robinson when I first saw what he did when 2 years ago when Colorado played Matt Rule in Nebraska.
Yeah,
Ty Robinson was all over that game.
No, he was.
So
those first three draft picks are going to go crazy for the Eagles in 2025. I feel like a defensive front with Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, and Ty Robinson, and you got Nolan Smith on the edge and Jalen Hunt right there, or even Aziz Ojulari, who's ever on the field at the time. You're not running on that front. You're not going to be able to run on that front. And you got Zach Bond who can slice through. Nakobe Dean, when he gets healthy, can slice through, or Jahai Campbell, whoever ends up on the field, can slice through. And you got Cooper DeJean who can. You're not running on this team. You're not going to be able to have an efficient run game with this team.
Yeah, we'll see what they're going to do. And not for nothing, let's not forget, Tyler Steen is not locked in because there's a couple big ass rooks that's going to be challenging for that spot.
Yeah, man.
So we'll see.
Cameron Williams, you got Miles Hinton, Drew Kendall,
Miles Hinton.
Trevor Keegan is still on the roster too, who I like a lot.
Don't be surprised if Miles Hinton. I'm just saying. I'm not saying. I'm just saying. Don't be surprised if that kid, because that kid comes from good stock.
And they brought in what's the kid out of Rutgers?
Is it Kendall?
No, not Drew Kendall. Drew is not. No, it's the black kid
Kendall,
out of Rutgers.
Hinton, and the other guy,
undrafted guy. The chat knows the offensive lineman out of Rutgers, big as hell. He used to weigh over 400 pounds. He lost like over 80 pounds. Like he weighs like 340, 350. He's like 6'8". Holland Pierce.
Yes.
Holland Pierce.
Yo,
I think the Eagles are going to hide him somehow. I don't think he makes it to the practice squad. A guy of that size. Now, granted, they drafted a lot of guys like 6'7", 6, but that size.
6'8", 344.
Dog, that's me a lot of.
If he can move his feet, Jeff Stoutland gonna work with him.
He's not gonna make it to the practice squad. They're gonna hide him somehow.
We'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see,
man. It's been a hell of a show though, man. We got a lot done.
Man, we got a lot done, bro.
Hell of
a show. We got a lot done, bro. Yeah,
I look forward to these. Listen, bro, this is a good thing we got going here. And when the season starts, you guys already know how we getting down, man. Like your weekly pregame shows, like you guys know how we get busy here. So make sure you guys continue to smash that like button. Make sure you guys stay engaged, man. We love it and we appreciate y'all.
Yeah, man. I'm gonna keep updating the graphics package. I got some more things in mind. Yeah, I'm working on it. So every week we're gonna try to have something new.
Mm-hmm.
Tell your friends about us.
For sure. Share the content, hit the like button, subscribe, comment, even if you're watching the playback. You know what I mean? Yeah, like comment below, sure. You guys. We need all of that. Make sure you guys stay engaged in this content. You guys are a part of this community.
So, all right, man. I'm about to go get me something to eat, bro.
Who you telling? Who you telling, brother? So let's take us out of here, man. Listen, y'all been tuned into the Eagles off-season show featuring Coach Marcus from Pro Fan Talk. And I'm your guy, Tone DeShields II from Chalk It Up Sports, where no matter if we win or if we lose, we just got to charge us the game. Marcus, take us out, big dog.
Go Birds.
In the city of Philly, where the birds take flight, Eagle swag on the rise each and every night. Tone and Marcus got the scoop ready to ignite from the lanes of South Street to to the broad street lights. Dashing like a running back, hitting every play. Fly guys in the zone, never led astray. Talking touchdowns, talking game day. Huddle around the mic, hear what they gotta say. I like an eagle soaring in the sky. Tony Marcus always standing by. Bringing the heat, call it do or die. Philly squad, hear the battle cry. Fly like an eagle soaring in the sky. Tony Marcus always standing by. Bringing the heat, call it do or die. Philly squad, hear the battle